As the sun sets on Diggi Palace and on the 9th Z Jaipur Literature Festival, tomorrow the peacocks and the sparrows and the squirrels will come down and reclaim what is rightfully their space on this garden. The tents will go down, the lights will come down and go off, and the only memory that they may have been this gathering will be the dead grass, which hopefully will spring to life again. All of you who've been with us for the last 5 days will travel back to your homes and your countries across the world. And I hope in a moment of solitude, you will remember the incredible conversations you've heard here, the people who you've met, the journey you've traveled from Wellington to Vancouver, learning about new places, new cultures, new civilizations, their philosophies and their histories. And in that moment of reflection, you will find an idea that will enthrall you, will enthuse you, and bring you back in 2017 to the 10th Z Jaipur Literature Festival. This festival is considered to be the largest festival in the world, and that's been made possible because of the people like you who come here each day, year on year, to be part of this festival. And on behalf of Namita Gokhale and William Dalrymple, our directors, all my colleagues at Teamwork, Sharupa Datta, Kritika, Ankur, Sukman, Shuli, we just like to say a very big thank you to each one of you. Thank you. To our authors who have traveled from far, and of course from the state of Rajasthan, and shared your time and your passion, and shared your thoughts and bared your souls and mind. Thank you, because you all, each one of you, have been extraordinary, and I think we all owe a great deal of debt to you. Thank you very much. To the government of Rajasthan, the Ministry of Tourism here, and to the police who continue to support us year on year, managing these enormous crowds with our own security. We'd really like to thank you for the incredible way you've been able to help us make this such a safe festival, in spite of the many naysayers who said that they thought there'd be trouble, including this afternoon. Our venue managers are absolutely amazing. They're the ones who've held each of the venues together. They've made it possible for the sessions to start and stop on time. We'd like to thank them. Katriona, Atul, Nina, Twinkle, Anna, Debabhuti, Mani, Anushrut, Deepika, Christoph, Marisha, Shashwati, Vipulita. Thank you all for coming here again each year. Every year we get these incredible comments from so many people saying how amazing our volunteers were. This year, by September of 2015, we had received 1,700 volunteer applications from 13 different countries. They were interviewed by our colleagues, and then they attended a workshop here run by Giraj and the Yuva Ekta Foundation, and that's why they've done an incredible job. Give them a big hand. To our wonderful festival hosts, Ram Pratap, Jyotika, and the Diggi family. I don't know where they are. I have no idea if they're anywhere displaced, but thank you for allowing us this incredible space. Thank you very much. And like I say, every year it increases, it overflows, and it embraces all the tens of thousands of people who come. Each time I'm asked by the press to agle saal kahan, and I keep saying, find me a place with 44,000 square feet that can accommodate so many thousands of people and yet be a home to this incredible festival. Thank you. To our outreach partners, Pratham Books and the Yuva Ekta Foundation, who are right now doing a play outside, thank you for reaching out to over 73 schools, reaching out to over 35,000 children in and around Jaipur and Rajasthan who haven't been able to come here. Thank you very much. To our colleagues in JBM, Neeta Gupta and Aditi Maheshwari, and for the Jaipur bookmark, we really owe you a debt of gratitude for all that you've done to make this B2B event a success. And to our advisors, Urvashi Butalia and Suhel Seth, thank you all. The festival is free in a sense. What people don't understand is everybody who comes through the door costs money, a chair, a drink of water, a badge, a registration, and it's made possible by our incredible sponsors. We'd like to thank Z Entertainment, Rajnigandha Group, Airtel, Google, Ford, the Mahindra Humanities Center at Harvard, the Aga Khan Foundation, the Dettol Banega Swachh India campaign, Amity University, Rajasthan Tourism, Dove, Glenlivet, and Kingfisher, who's kept us happy, a British Council, the Getty Foundation, Kotak Mahindra Bank, and of course that very useful ATM, Amway, AU Financiers, who did the music stage, the Narayan Hridulaya Limited, which is our official hospital partner, SBBI, SBBJ, Coca-Cola, Uber, who's carried everybody here, Indigo, who's flown everybody here, Nestle, and our media partners, Dainik Bhaskar, the Rajasthan Patrika, Red FM, and all of you who are present. To the hotels who've hosted us, our wonderful dinners, the Rambagh, and this evening, La Meridian and the Starwood Group, thank you. And a special thank you to the Home Ministry of Rajasthan, our legal advisors, Angad Mirdha and Anurag Paliwal, and of course, the Chief Minister's Office. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'd like to say that this festival is incredible because we're here in Jaipur, at Dighi, in Rajasthan, in India, and the intangible magic is all of you who come together with your incredible energy to create what has become the biggest celebration of literature in the world. Thank you very much.
Sanjoy said all that I really wanted to say, all that you wanted to hear. I just want to add that it's my prayer from my heart that the universe continues to conspire to bless the city of Jaipur with all the literary blessings, and Dighi Palace, our festival, you and me, sabko Saraswati ka आशीर्वाद मिलता रहे. And 2016 लिस्ट फेस्ट से विदाई लेते हुए यह प्रार्थना है कि एक उन्मुक्त पंछी की तरह गगन में सोच विचार संवाद फैलाता रहे हमारा साहित्य उत्सव. और कुछ नहीं. थैंक यू.
So it's that time, our closing debate, something that the festival is really famous for. This evening, we're talking about, is freedom of speech absolute and unconditional? Sorry, before I speak, I'm going to ask Willie to say a few words.
When we started here, about 15 people turned up. Apparently, we've crossed 1/3 this year. It's been the most extraordinary journey, and we're not even 10 years old. We have our 10th birthday party next year. We're planning something very, very special, and I hope to see you there then. Thank you.
We have an incredible array of wonderful debaters. Kapil Mishra is the Ministry of Tourism, Art, Culture and Languages, Water and Gurdwara Elections. I don't know how you manage so many portfolios in one, whatever. In the government of NCD in Delhi. He's also known to be a public policy campaigner, a political activist and social entrepreneur, and has been a strong advocate for the protection of the river Yamuna. He's also the co-founder and coordinator of the organization Youth for Justice. He's also worked with eminent groups such as Greenpeace and Amnesty International, and is the author of its Common versus Wealth, a book on the 2010 Commonwealth Games. Please welcome Kapil Mishra speaking for the motion. Is Suhel here? Is Suhel here? Our festival advisor, one of the most feastiest persons who you'll see roughly on every television channel and in the midst of many a controversy. Suhel Seth is the founder and managing partner of Consulate India. People love him, he loves people. The country's only strategic brand management and marketing consultancy. Seth is a regular speaker at industry meets as well as lectures at various Indian institutes of management. He has written for the Financial Times, the Hindustan Times, and the Indian Express on current affairs and the social landscape of India. He's also the author of In Your Face, Get to the Top, India's finest CEOs and their mantras of success, and of Roots and Wings, 50 years of Indian Airlines. His next book is tentatively titled The Indian Mindset. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking against the motion, entrepreneur and columnist Suhel Seth. Doesn't matter. P. Sivakami is a prolific writer and activist, and for those of you who listened to her earlier during the 5 days, you would have found her incisive point of view. She has published 5 novels, 4 short story collections, 5 essay collections, and 2 poetry collections. Most of her work has been translated into English and other international languages. Her first self-translated novel, The Grip of the Changewas, rated as among the 5 favorite novels of India by the BBC's Literary Review, and has been prescribed as a text in translation for many colleges. Her other novels, including Taming of the Women and Kurukku Vettu, published in English as cross-section. Sivakami has also served in the Sahitya Academy as an advisory member, as an IAS officer from 1980 to 2008, when she served the government of Tamil Nadu and the central government, until she voluntarily retired to serve the poor and the disadvantaged in her state. Ladies and gentlemen, P. Sivakami speaking for the motion. Madhu, Trehan. One of the most respected writers and journalists, many people forget that she actually started the news magazine India Today in 1975. In 1986, she produced and anchored the groundbreaking television news magazine program News Track, which then opened up to become what we know today as an entire channel. Cementing her as a pioneer in investigative journalism, her best-selling book, Prism Me a Lie, Tell Me a Truth, Tehelka as a Metaphor, was published. Madhu is currently the editor-in-chief of newslaundry.com, a website that critiques the press and media and is hugely respected. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking for the motion, Madhu Trehan. Former diplomat, well-known writer, having won many prestigious assignments to his credit, he's also a writer with over a dozen best-selling books that have established him as one of the foremost creative thinkers, not only in India, but internationally. A widely admired public speaker, a translator of Gulzar's poetry, who never recites from a prepared text, he's been invited to address some of the most distinguished forums in the world. He's been involved with several public causes, significant among which is the need for privileged Indians to be sensitive to the conditions of the poor and the deprived. Currently a member of the upper house, the Rajya Sabha. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Pavan K. Varma speaking against the motion. Who's left? Earlier this year, when India Today celebrated its 40th anniversary, I was able to find this wonderful article written by a very slim young man called Salil Tripathi, a London-based journalist and author. His books include Offence the Hindu Case, The Colonel Who Would Not Repent and Detours, Song of the Open Road, He's written for Mint, Caravan, and many others. He's currently working on a book about Gujaratis, the fiercest voice in protection of fundamentals and free speech. Ladies and gentlemen, Salil Tripathi. Who's missing? Speaking against the motion, or like he said, I'm very happy to speak on both sides because there's something good on one side and something good on the other side. A person who needs no introduction, actor Anupam Kher. The other reason you all need to cheer Anupam is that he just received word from the President's office that he's been awarded the Padma Bhushan on the Republic Day. Over these last few years, not just in India, but across the world, there's been a huge debate ranging about the freedom of speech and whether it should be absolute and unconditional. There's obviously both sides to the story, and this is some of the stuff that we're going to debate today. Do writers and artists, especially those who have come together today, do they have a special creative license for truth-telling? We know that should a politician stand up and make a speech and say the most awful things, there are very few people who call for him to be banned or banished or burn his books or tear apart his paintings. But should an author and an artist do that, immediately there's this incredible uproar, and either they're banished or they're banned or their paintings torn. And this is something that we need to discuss. Are there limits to the freedom of speech? Should there be any limit, or is it absolute and unconditional? And is the freedom of speech an essential foundation of the information age today? These are some of the questions that we're going to pose to our wonderful debaters today. The way I'm going to do it is first, I'm going to ask all of you who believe in the motion to put up your hand and we'll poll you. We will do the same thing at the end. You can also do a missed call and there will be a number that will come up on the screen. You can vote either for the motion or against the motion, and we will tally that at the end and see if you've been swayed. Ladies and gentlemen, the proposition today is freedom of speech absolute and unconditional? Those of you who say yes, raise your hands. Those of you who feel that freedom of speech should not be absolute and unconditional, raise your hands. So it's mostly evenly balanced at this point of time. Let's see how our debaters present their points of view. I'm going to start in no particular order. Madhu requested me a little while ago that she wanted to go first. Madhu.
Democracy and freedom are alive in India, enshrined in Article 19. So is censorship. Censorship is alive and well in India. So I want to ask anyone who thinks that they might be offended what I might say after what I say, please leave now. If you think that I might hurt your sentiments, please leave now. If you think I might outrage you, please leave now. Oh God, people on the right are already leaving. Right-wingers, typical. Left also leaving. Just as rigid. Oh my God. The centrists are staying. Thank you. Due to inertia, the centrists never do anything, but at least they listen. You know that AIB, All India Bhak, issued notices for arrest when they did a roast of Ranveer Singh and Arjun Kapoor. Even the audience, Deepika Padukone and Alia Bhatt, got notices to be arrested, were served warrants to be arrested, because they were laughing and enjoying themselves. Because one person was offended and filed a complaint in the police in Mumbai, and so he had a right to file this case and insist that they were arrested because he said that his sentiments were hurt. He didn't like the obscene and vulgar language under Article 295A. So if one person in the audience objects to what I say, I could be arrested. And if you're listening, you could be arrested. That is censorship. We are doing it to each other. The state and government have always done it. Now we're doing it to each other. We're censoring each other. What could be worse than that? To live in fear. How did this happen? You know that Keki Sharma last week got arrested for playing a role of Ram Rai. And he was given lines. He said what he was supposed to. He dressed up. Before he knew it, he was in jail and thousands of people were baying for his blood, ready to lynch him. Censorship. That's what we're doing. How did this happen? Easy answer. Blame the British. In 1924, there was a man, Mahasabha Rajpal, who wrote a pamphlet criticizing and spoofing the personal life of Rahmatullah alayhi. There was a portion of the citizens who were very upset, objected, but they could do nothing because the judge ruled in his favor, and the pamphlet was published because the judge said that if he stopped this pamphlet, there would be no historians would be able to examine religious leaders' lives. So it was published, but people were very upset about it. There was the Punjab governor, Sir Malcolm Haley, decided to pass a law to calm the restive natives, and he passed this law which to reassure them that if anybody's sentiments are ever hurt, they can file under section 295A, which was used 88 years later against AIB, against Keki Sharma, and it can be used against anyone at any time.
Speaking against the motion, Pavan Varma.
Of course we want freedom of expression. The freedom of expression is enshrined in Article 19 of our Constitution. But ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for us to understand that we must be a sane and civilized society. Every democracy gives you the freedom to express your thoughts without fear of censorship, and every democracy tells you that that freedom is not unfettered. Article 19 gives you that freedom. Article 19, Clause 2 says that under the rubrics of public order, decency, morality, incitement to a crime, security of the state, sovereignty of the state, and international relations, there should be reasonable restrictions on the freedom of speech. How do you define reasonable? Reasonable restrictions are those which a sane society learns to accept for itself. I cannot stand here and tell you whom I don't know that I think that you are, and I don't want to use an expletive. The Supreme Court has even said that using expletives, using abusive language for historically respected personalities does not come under the freedom of expression. We have had attacks made against Mahatma Gandhi. I don't want this to be a political debate because all parties are responsible. You and I are responsible. India is responsible. But we have had political leaders who have lost the boundaries between what should be freedom of expression and what is incitement to hatred and violence. And we must accept those boundaries. And we must take the inspiration from our own civilization. Shankaracharya in the 8th century traveled across the length and breadth of this country, arguing his point, but understanding the need to listen to those who disagree with him. That is called freedom of expression, when you don't damn another opponent, but you accept that what you say is subject to correction, subject to restraint, subject to civilized discourse. And therefore I say to you, if we are a democracy, all of us must fight for freedom of expression, which falls within the democratic definition of democracy. But all of us must understand that that very democracy will collapse if each of us exercise this right without any restraint, without any fetters. That democracy will live and survive and flourish when we ourselves as citizens understand that democracy requires us to use the self-restraint that qualifies us to be called a civilized nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavan. Salil Tripathi speaking for the motion.
One of the most wonderful things that happens when you walk in the morning is a babble of noises. You hear various Charbagh and Mughal tent and Google tent voices coming, all at the same time. And what is it? It's the land of Gup and not the land of Chup. Those of us who have read Salman Rushdie, Harun and the Sea of Stories will know what I mean by that. Societies are great because people can talk to each other, listen to each other, argue with each other and shake hands as friends. But when someone says you can't say this because I don't like, Arey bhai, who elected you to say that you can decide what you should like and therefore I should not say it? Freedom of speech is a right. It is not a privilege that the government grants us. It's what we have. It's not what they give us. So don't let them take it away. There are lots of politicians on this stage. Don't trust them. And you know what? If they do end up banning us, if they do end up stopping us, people will remember the stories. Let me take you back to a story of Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451. What is Fahrenheit 451? It's the temperature at which paper burns. You burn books. Who does that? Nazi Germany did that. What happened after that? They burned people. Burning of the book is a prelude to burning people. And because those books were being burned, what happened after that? People memorized them. People remembered them. You can take away the writer, but not the writing. You don't like a book? Shut it. Write another one. Argue with it. Stand in front of bookshops and tell people, don't go, this is a bad book. All that is fine. Don't pick up a stone. Don't pick up ink. Don't pick up acid. Don't pick up gun. And don't stab that writer. He has or she has every right to speak, as do all of us here. So everybody deserves freedom of speech. Just now, Pavan, who's a good friend of mine, and I've reviewed his book, and he's a wonderful writer, he actually talked about insulting Gandhi and the Supreme Court's view. Let me remind him of what Vivekananda said, who is a very famous, very popular religious leader at this time in India's history, right? Here's what Vivekananda said. He went traveling around the country and saw that some temples were destroyed by Muslims. And he was very upset by that. And he wanted revenge. And he had a revelation at night. The Devi came in front of him and asked him, are you there to protect me or am I there to protect you? Does Gandhi need our protection? Does Mahatma Gandhi need us to protect him? Or he's there to protect the Indian Republic? So forget all about that. That's it. Oh, 30 seconds, okay. So don't buy that. And decency, what does it mean? You say that something is decent, something is indecent. Who decides? I like to read Nabokov's Lolita. Somebody will say it is obscene. I like to read Kiran Nagarkar's Ravan and Eddy. And I know people who will say it is obscene. I loved Ghashiram Kotwal, the play. And there were people in my city, Bombay, where I grew up, who said it should be banned. Don't give them that freedom. They don't deserve that. Protect your freedom. Thank you.
Speaking against the motion, mostly Anupam Kher.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, पहली बात तो शुक्रिया आप लोगों ने मेरे पद्म भूषण के लिए मुझे, अब अगर आपके शुक्रिया अदा करने में गोंग बजता रहे तो बजना दे, मैं तो अपनी बात कह लूँगा। सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि मधु जी, मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूँ, आपको बीप करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, ऑल इंडिया बकचोद है वो। और ये फ्रीडम पूरे हिंदुस्तान को दिया, उनका बड़ा पोर्टल बहुत पॉपुलर है, तो कोई नहीं बोलता ऑल इंडिया, आप बोल सकते हैं ऑल इंडिया बकचोद। ये जो एक परसेप्शन क्रिएट किया जा रहा है, खासकर इस तरह के फेस्टिवल्स में, एक
I object to that. We don't create a perception, it's a platform for all kinds of viewpoints. We'll give you extra points.
ये देखिए आपने इंटॉलरेंस। ये बोलना चाहता था मैं। जहां अब मेरी फ्रीडम की स्पीच मैंने बात करना तो बीच में टोक दिया मुझे इन्होंने।
टोका नहीं,
ये अगर मैंने किया होता, सुनिए बात, सीधी बात, रुक जाओ संजय, 2 मिनट रुक जाओ बेटा, बोलने दो मुझे। पहली बात तो ये है कि मैं इन सबको देख के लगता है कि इन्होंने स्कूल में डिबेट्स में बहुत भाग लिया, मैंने तो कभी नहीं लिया। मैंने एक बार डिबेट्स में भाग लिया था, मैंने लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन बोलने की जगह लेडीज ऑफ द जेंटलमैन बोल दिया था। फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच जो है या फ्रीडम एक्सप्रेशन हम सबको मिला हुआ है। अभी डेरिल साहब ने बोला कि 50 लोगों से ये फेस्टिवल शुरू हुआ था। अभी मुझे बता रहे थे कि आज यहाँ पर 6000 लोग हैं और 1 लाख से ज़्यादा लोग या 10 लाख से ज़्यादा लोग आए हैं। ये फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच की वजह से आए हैं, ये अपनी आज़ादी की वजह से आए हैं। हमारे जैसा देश, ये किताबें जलाने की बात कर रहे हैं भाई साहब, हमारे किताबें जलाने की बात चली, किताबें जलती बहुत सदियों से चली आ रही हैं। कुछ धर्म में किताबें जो जलाते हैं उनके सामने फतवा कर दिया जाता है, कुछ जला में जला चलते रहती हैं। सो इसका कोई अंत नहीं है। फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच के साथ आती है एक सेंस ऑफ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। What is important is the sense of responsibility to every citizen of this country. What am I doing it? Freedom of speech. आप घर पे बोल सकते हैं बहनचोद? जो रूल आप घर में इस्तेमाल करते हैं वो देश पे इस्तेमाल करिए, तो मानूंगा मैं आपको। आप घर पे पिताजी को बोलते हैं एक झापड़ मारूंगा, बोल सकते हैं क्या? आप नहीं बोल सकते, मगर यहां आप प्रधानमंत्री को गाली दे सकते हैं कि कावड़ है, साइकोपैथ है और ये है। ये फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन है, ये आजादी हमारे देश में आपकी बोल सकते हैं। तो लेट्स नॉट क्रिएट दिस परसेप्शन कि हम एक ऐसे मुल्क में रह रहे हैं जहां बहुत डर के रहना चाहिए, फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच नहीं होती है, आपके घरों में घुसे आ रहे हैं, आपको जेल में भेज दिया जा रहा है। कोई नहीं है यहाँ पर। आजकल जहाज की टिकट नहीं मिलती है, रेलवे की टिकट नहीं मिलती है, लोग गाड़ियों पे गाड़ी चले जा रहे हैं। जयपुर में 15 साल पहले आता था तो 10 मिनट में अपने होटल पहुंच जाता था, आज 1 घंटा लगा पहुंचने में। दैट मीन लोग प्रॉस्पर हो रहे हैं, लोग खुश हैं। खुशी से भारतीय होने का फायदा उठाइए। ये देश जो है, यहां जितनी फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच यहां है, दुनिया के किसी मुल्क में नहीं है। यहां आपको नमस्ते, ये जो मेरे विद ऑल ड्यू रिस्पेक्ट टू ऑल द फॉरेन डिग्निटरीज ओवर हियर, सर मेरी वहां बहुत ज्यादा तलाशी होती है, मेरे जूते उतारे जाते हैं, मेरी पैंट भी कभी कभी उतारी जाती है। तो जो नियम आप घर पे लागू करते हैं उसी को देश पे लागू करिए। जय हिंद।
Thank you, Anupam. Speaking for the motion, P. Sivakami.
First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for the wonderful opportunity I got today. When the organizers contacted me about this closing debate and whether you're supporting the motion or against it, the very word condition, immediately my mind went for opting for the motion, because as women, we have been conditioned. Being women, you talk like this. Being women, you behave like this. Every time we are conditioned. So we are very much against the conditioning. Therefore, I chose the topic that I should support the motion, because we want to break all barriers stopping women development. Secondly, taking cue from Mr. Anupam Kher, he said about freedom struggle, and I also would like to remind you about the freedom struggle. In freedom struggle, one of the rights we fought for was freedom of press and freedom of speech. And remember that Mahatma Gandhi and Tilakar have been imprisoned because they fought for the freedom of press. So therefore, we fought it so hard to get it. The very word, freedom means there are no hurdles, nothing stops you. And, in a hierarchical and conflicting society, there are so many conflicts in our society. If we don't have the freedom of press, how would the people who are subjugated and who are in the periphery could come to the surface and converse with you? So it is absolutely essential when the society is, pluralistic and it houses so many interests and so many segments in the society. And also, think of the politicians. We elect the MPs that they would truly represent us in the parliament. And what happens in the parliament? You must have read in the newspaper, they received money to even speak on our behalf. So we can't trust MPs that they would speak our mind in the parliament. So people should have absolute freedom of speech so that their interests are heard, their developments are paid attention to. And again, I would like to say that, elected members, even if they have to speak in the parliament, they have to get the permission of the party whip, if you all agree with me. And party whip, they have their own vested interests because there are party lines. Even as member of parliaments, even as member of legislative assemblies, they can't speak their mind in the parliament. The only forum left before us is freedom of speech. Hence, I really fully support it. And again, I would like to say that, see, we consider our party leaders and the government, superior, the chief minister or the prime minister, something above us. We are not allowed to converse with them. Even as, I was third in the line in the government to speak on behalf of the government, behalf of the department that I was heading. But the chief minister, after I voiced my opinion, she said, I voiced my opinion, she said, "Are you talking to the chief minister?" She asked me. I was talking on behalf of the government and for the department, and you had posted me, and I didn't have the right to speak to you. So therefore, I feel freedom of speech is a sign of development, and we should not deter it in any form. Thank you.
Speaking against the motion, Suhel Seth.
Just so that you know, madam, the topic for the debate is, this House believes that freedom should be absolute. We are not talking about freedom of speech or about Jayalalitha or about such nice, sweet people. The topic very clearly is freedom absolute? Can it be absolute? Must it be absolute? There are three reasons why it can't. In this country, we get angry if a tree falls on us. Can you imagine if we use hate as the weapon of communication? If you drag people's religion, abuse them in public, and then say, it's my freedom of expression, it's a silly argument. It's equally silly to suggest, like the slim young Salil Tripathi in his good old days slim. I'm only quoting what Sanjoy Roy said. Now see, even this freedom is being violated. He says, oh, but freedom, burning books. Let's stop exaggerating the India we live in. Let's stop this nonsense. Donald Trump says Muslims must be banned from entering the United States. You talk about their freedom here. So let's cut out this crap. The reality is, nowhere in the world, as Pavan Varma rightly enunciated, nowhere in the world do you have an absolute freedom only because of one reason. Not because of the people who are at the Jaipur Literature Festival, but because there are fringe elements who are willing to hijack the discourse and the course of an entire nation. using hate, spewing hatred, using the worst kind of abuse, which is both private or public, to hijack the national agenda. You can't have a situation in a country such as this where you go and say whatever the hell you want and have no rules, no laws. I mean, Madhu Trehan ran a cover story or whatever it was on High Court judges many years ago. She was forced to apologize because the High Court judges were refusing to submit themselves to a test of competence. It was a list, if I remember right. The point I'm making is, in this country, we have freedom. We have the freedom to speak. We have the freedom to abuse. I mean, he's from Aam Aadmi Party. They know this better than anyone else does. But everyone also understands that that freedom, as Pavan and Anupam both said, must come with responsibility. You and I may be Hindus, may be Muslims, but we are Indians first and Indians last. I'm not talking about patriotism, which is the last refuge of the scoundrel. I'm talking about nationalism. Let's not sacrifice the future of India for fables, for cliches like absolute freedom, because then we will do ourselves the greatest disservice. We are born in a free land with a free culture, with a free voice, except for this guy who keeps interrupting. Let's respect that freedom. Let's treasure, let's cherish the freedom. But most importantly, everything in life comes with a sense of responsibility. It is our contention from that side of the floor to say, cherish your freedom, but don't abuse someone else's sensitivity. Be cognizant that you are not an island, you're part of India. Thank you.
Thank you, Suhel. Speaking for the motion, Kapil Mishra.
हेलो, सबसे पहले तो अनुपम जी ने कहा कि आपके पापा के सामने बहनचोद नहीं बोल सकते। मैंने कहा भाई साहब, पापा को मैंने वोट देके थोड़ी पापा बनाया है। पापा कोई मैनिफेस्टो लेके थोड़ी आए थे। पापा ने ये थोड़ी कहा था कि पड़ोस का गुंडा तेरे को मारेगा, एक थप्पड़ मारेगा तो मैं उसे 10 थप्पड़ मारूंगा, उसके बाद पड़ोस के गुंडे के साथ चाशनी थोड़ी खा रहे हैं मेरे पापा। अगर खाते पड़ोस के घर में जाके केक तो अपने बाप को भी कॉवर्ड बोलता। अगर मेरे पापा कहते बेटा तेरी स्कूल की फीस बाद में दूंगा, पहले मेरे साथ सेल्फी खिंचा ले, तो मैं कहता भैया तुम साइकोपैथ हो, कोई प्रॉब्लम है तुम में। और एक बात कहना चाहता हूं मैं, भैया मन की बात एक ही आदमी कर सकता है क्या? इस देश में हम सब कर सकते हैं अपने अपने मन की बात? हमें छूट मिलनी चाहिए मन की बात करने की। मैं अपने ट्विटर पे क्या लिखूंगा, फेसबुक पे क्या लिखूंगा, ये नेता थोड़ी बताएंगे। संसद में बैठ के कानून बना दिया, कानून होना चाहिए, कानून होना चाहिए, कानून होना चाहिए। मैं आपको एक बात कहना चाहता हूं, ये हिंदुस्तान, ये भारत का देश, इसकी धर्म और संस्कृति के ठेकेदार जो बने हुए हैं ना, उनको कुछ नहीं पता हमारे धर्म के बारे में। हमने तो दैत्यों के गुरु को भी, शुक्राचार्य को भी गुरु की उपाधि दी थी। हमने कहा चारवाक, जो हमारी संस्कृति, हमारी फिलॉसफी के बिल्कुल अगेंस्ट कंज्यूमरिज्म और मेटलिज्म की बात करते थे, उनको भी हमने बोला महर्षि चारवाक हैं। कबीर बनारस के घाट में पंडों के बीच में, पुजारियों के बीच में खड़े होकर बोलते हैं, पाथर पूजे हरि मिले तो मैं पूजू पहाड़, और उसके बाद भी कोई उन्हें कुछ नहीं बोलता। मुगलों के राज में वो फकीर खड़ा होकर कहता है, काकर पाथर जोड़ के मस्जिद लई बनाए, ताचड़ी मुल्ला बांग दे क्या बहरा हुआ खुदाए। उसके बाद भी कोई उन्हें यह नहीं कहता, कबीर को कोई यह नहीं कहता पाकिस्तान चले जाओ तुम नक्सलवादी हो, जंगली हो, पाकिस्तानी हो, कोई नहीं कहता कबीर को ये। हिंदुस्तान के अंदर ये जो शुरुआत है ना फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन को रोकने की, ये इंदिरा गांधी ने शुरू की। उन्होंने कहा ये कलाकारों ने, आर्टिस्ट ने, साहित्यकारों ने, रिपोर्टरों ने मिलकर हमारे सत्ता पलट दी, तो उन्होंने लॉबिंग शुरू कर दी। R.K. धवन जैसे लोग मोरारजी देसाई से बड़े नेता बन गए। वही हो रहा था कांग्रेस की इंदिरा में जो मोदी जी की भाजपा में आज दिखाई दे रहा है हम लोगों को। लेकिन एक बात है, अगर वो लॉबिंग, वो नेटवर्किंग, वो सब शुरू नहीं होता तो शायद सुहेल सेठ जैसे लोग यहाँ मंच पे मेरे साथ भी नहीं बैठे हुए होते। मैं ये बात कहना चाहता हूं, बड़े खुल के कहना चाहता हूं, हिंदुस्तान का यंग पॉलिटिशियन हूं, आम आदमी पार्टी है। मेरे नेता को तो तुम शाही भी फेंक दो, गाली भी दे दो, पत्थर भी मार दो, कोई तुम्हारे घर पे पत्थर मारने नहीं जाता, कोई तुम्हारे घर पे पत्थर मारने नहीं जाता। आप केजरीवाल को खुजलीवाल बोलो, दिन में 10 बार खुजलीवाल बोलो, खांसी वाला बोलो, कुछ भी बोलो, लेकिन जब मैं मोदी को फेंकू बोलूंगा, जब मैं राहुल को पप्पू बोलूंगा, तो मुझे उसकी छूट होगी। मैं यही कहना चाहता हूं, ये छूट हो। आप मोदी मोदी चिल्लाओ, आपको छूट है, इसके लिए तुम्हें जेल में थोड़ी डाल देंगे। क्यों डालेंगे जेल में भाई? पूरी छूट होनी चाहिए इस देश के अंदर, ये हिंदुस्तान है। ये मेरा टाइम काउंट होगा। बस इतना ही कहना चाहता हूं, इस देश में मन की बात मोदी भी करेंगे और मन की बात हम भी करेंगे। जिसको रोकना है रोक ले।
This has been the most incredible debate so far. Anybody wants to respond to anything that each of you said, please use the mic or the podium. The podium is better because it's... No, so each of you can respond, there's no problem. Right now we have finished the first lot of this thing. We'll come to you next.
I think the one thing that should not have happened is to make this a political debate between one party or the other. I think the issue, and I really want to speak with careful thought, and I want to present this before you. The issue is not that there should be any restraint on the freedom of expression as guaranteed to you in a democracy under the Constitution. You should fight for it. Our founding fathers have fought for it. The question before this house is that freedom absolute? Can I use that freedom without reasonable restriction to abuse somebody, to defame somebody, to do something against public morality, to incite people to violence and hatred? The Supreme Court has said that we must have freedom of expression, but we must also accept as a civilized society that freedom must have reasonable restrictions. If in order to prove his point, one of the panelists here wants to dance naked, there would be a case registered under the issue of public morality, even though some people would have liked it. The question is, are we willing to be a democratic but sane society or not? If we are, then we must accept that all freedoms must have reasonable restrictions. Thank you.
Salil. Who wants to? Salil, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. You'll come back for your closing comments at the end, but right now if you want to respond, respond. Sure.
It's really sad that you politicize this debate. अनुपम जी, आपने तो politics और आपने politics ले आए इसमें. ये freedom of speech की बात है. और it's got nothing to do with Modi or Jayalalitha or anyone. No, it's very... Am I free to speak? Do I have the freedom of speech to speak? You see?
Guys, this is not a contest. This is not a political rally. We're trying to have a debate.
So we don't
Madhu ji, just to clarify, I did not bring Modi. That was started by the audience, and I appreciated that.
Thank you. Thank you. Madhu, go ahead. Madhu, go ahead.
First of all, Article 19 has a clause that was brought in by Pandit Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, because after his halcyon days of being worshipped as a freedom fighter, he suddenly found that the press started critiquing him, and he did not like it. So he added this clause of reasonable restrictions, which included vulgarity, obscenity, defamation, which there are already laws against defamation, but he wanted to start, that was the start of the beginning of controlling the press. And that was only done because it was a personal thing. So you have to understand that when you are told that use your freedom of speech with responsibility, you're coming from a superior place, that we, the politicians, the censors, are superior because we know what is good for you. We will tell you what to read, what to watch, what to write, what to speak. But you are not responsible enough to do it by yourself. We will tell you. We will censor your movies. We will tell you what to read and write. And we can ban any book, whether it's any political party, whether it's the Congress or the BJP. They have started, they ban books, they ban films, and they think that they're banning them. The joke is on them, because we see all the films on YouTube. We read all the books anyway. They can't control us from seeing what we want to see, to do what we want to do, to say what we want to say. They can't, but they've been trying. And this whole thing about responsibility means that the masses are irresponsible, we, the educated, smart, sensible ones. It doesn't work like that. That's not democracy.
Thank you. I'm going to take a few questions from the House and then come back for closing statements. It's not closing comments yet. Relax. Do we have mics? So Renu say, is there a mic here? Sit. Mic. 1 second. Please sit down. I haven't asked you to speak. Sit down. Renu say. Mic. हैंड माइक यहाँ पे सामने में.
Can somebody elaborate on Sadhvi Ritambara's remarks in her speeches?
So just hold this. You have to respond to Sadhvi Ritambara's remarks. We'll take a couple of questions and come back. This boy here in the glasses in the red. 1 second. Can we get a mic there? Just pass it on, yeah. Come in front. Can you come in front?
Okay, I would like if Mr. Suhel Seth answers this question. You know, your group talked about how there is a sense of responsibility when we talk about freedom of speech. Now, the thing is, if someone writes a book and it hurts the religious sentiments of any community, for example, or by banning that book, you create intrigue and interest in the society, and they would want to read that book because they would think that there is something which holds true. Wouldn't the better strategy be to let everyone read that book and then ridicule it and counter it by writing other books which criticize it?
Thank you. The gentleman with the glasses here.
Don't we have to answer these?
Not yet. Just hold the questions. We'll come back to it.
So my question is to this side of the stage. Do you guys think that you yourself are not per se for absolute unconditionality, but you have a problem with the way how these conditions are being put and being executed and implemented? I don't think the problem lies with saying that we should be responsible. Madhu ma'am, if I were to say something that is derogatory towards you, then I should feel responsible. I should not do that. Pavan sir does not have to tell me. I think there's a problem in the execution. And I think you yourself are somewhat on their side. So I think you are in the center and they are on an extreme side. I don't think this is as polarized as it is made to be. That's my point.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll come back to it. And the lady in the red sweater at the corner, that lady there. And we'll come back. I'm sorry we can't take all the questions. We have Suhel and Pavan trying to catch a flight, so I have to get down to closing remarks and answering these questions.
Good evening, everyone. I have a question towards the panelists who are for freedom of expression. While I agree partly that we do need freedom of expression it is necessary at an individual level, but what when it is destructive towards a weaker section of society or towards an individual? What can be done then?
Thank you. So these are the 3 questions. Please answer them in your closing remarks, starting with Sivakami. The podium. Please go to the podium.
It's a valid question, and she said...
It's 2 minutes for each person.
The weaker sections, if you remember, we did not agree upon the caste system, and when the Dalits wanted to politicize it in the Durban conference, the government did not allow it. So the freedom of expression is denied to the weaker sections. If it is absolute, they would have made use of it.
Anupam.
What question do you want me to respond to? हाँ? हाँ, ये लोग बोल रहे हैं कि साध्वी नितंबरा के बारे में बोलें. मैडम, what is the problem with साध्वी नितंबरा? क्या बोला था उन्होंने? गलत है. देखिए, I don't think in every society there are always some people who make irresponsible statements. Let's not make them examples of ultimate this thing. If they have made the Haramzadeh comment or something like that, then it's very sad. But there are so many people who are making amazing comments also. So, sorry? Sorry? Off? No, I'm not going to get stressed about closing remarks or something like that. I'm here to answer her questions. I must understand now what she's, because this... हाँ, साध्वी, आपका सवाल गलत है. आप I think साध्वी प्राची के बारे में. आपके मन में कोई साध्वी घूम रही थी.
साध्वी नीलांजना.
आपकी मन में पहले आप साध्वी को कनेक्ट कर लीजिए. उसके साथ ऐसे बहुत सारे लोगों को कनेक्ट करिए जो फतवा करते हैं, जो देश के विभाजन की बातें करते हैं. उनको भूल जाइए ना. जो अच्छी बातें करते हैं उनकी बात करिए. मोदी जी अच्छी बात करते हैं. देखिए, जिंदगी में कुछ लोग क्रिटिसाइजर्स होते हैं, कुछ डूअर्स होते हैं. तो हमें डूअर बनना चाहिए. क्रिटिसाइज करने के लिए तो पूरी जिंदगी पड़ी है. हम अपने घर पे, मैं आज कुछ नहीं, मैं एक फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट में एक क्लर्क का बेटा हूं. शिमला से आया हूं. मैंने गुर्बत देखी है. अपनी मेहनत पर, अपने बलबूते पर फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच को एक्सप्रेस करते हुए जहां मुझे इस्तेमाल करना था वहां इस्तेमाल किया, जहां मुझे चुप रहना था वहां चुप रहा, और मैं आज इस मुकाम पे पहुंचा कि मुझे देश ने पद्म भूषण दिया है. तो ये अपना पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है. हम सबको कोई ना कोई कंप्लेंट है. हम सबको अपनी जिंदगी में कोई ना कोई कंप्लेंट है. मगर हम कंप्लेंट, मुझे लगता है कि जिंदगी में इफ यू वांट टू बिकम समबडी, यू हैव टू हैव एन एटीट्यूड ऑफ ए विनर. एंड इन एन एटीट्यूड ऑफ ए विनर यू हैव टू सप्रेस what is wrong with us and try to correct that. Why don't you correct it, ma'am? Why don't you make it, instead of standing there and asking me a question, what about her and what about that, why don't you do something and say, she is wrong and she is not right, kind of a thing. And in every profession, in every this thing, what are the kind of books? This is the festival where last year Salman Rushdie book was banned. Was it
not banned? 5 years ago.
3 years back.
It wasn't banned at the festival, but...
What was? He had to go to, his presence. Why?
It wasn't banned.
Okay, why was he stopped from coming to this place? What did you do as a festival organizer to make sure that he comes here? So let's become doers and not thinkers, because thinking can sometimes be contemplated. Let's forget about that. Let's become doers.
Kapil.
जहां तक श्रीमान जी आपको मेरे पिताजी की बात करनी, मेरे पिताजी ने अच्छा से बताया मुझे कि किसी ऐसी आदमी को वोट मत देना जो बात बात पे अपनी चीजें चेंज करता रहता है. ये तो
थैंक यू अनुपम जी फॉर टॉकिंग फॉर द मोशन. मुझे लगता है अनुपम जी ने फॉर द मोशन बोल ही दिया है. हम भी तो यही कह रहे हैं, इग्नोर करो, तमाशा क्यों करते हो, कोई क्या बोल रहा है उसे भूल जाओ. हम भी यही कह रहे हैं साहब. छोटी सी बात है, जो किताब लिखता है, जो पेंटिंग बनाता है, जो गीत गाता है, जो नाटक करता है, जब आप उसके जलाने जाते हो, पत्थर फेंकने जाते हो, बैन करने जाते हो, उल्टा वो आपको मारने नहीं आता कभी भी. ये थोड़े से लोग हैं जो हर्ट होते हैं, जिनके सेंटिमेंट्स हर्ट होते हैं, जो कहते हैं मूवी बैन कर दो, किताब जला दो. ये कितने लोग हैं? जितनी मूवी बैन की जाती है सारी 400 करोड़ से ज्यादा का बिजनेस करती है हिंदुस्तान के अंदर. मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं, फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच. अगर आप ये बोलते हो हैदराबाद यूनिवर्सिटी राष्ट्रद्रोहियों का अड्डा बन गई है, जेएनयू देशद्रोहियों का अड्डा बन गई है, अलीगढ़ देशद्रोहियों का अड्डा बन गई है, तो सारे अग्नि पृथ्वी त्रिशूल मिसाइल हमारे स्टूडेंट के ऊपर ही छोड़ दो. फिर मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं, आज की तारीख में एज एन इलेक्टेड यंग पॉलिटिशियन ऑफ दिस कंट्री, वी विल नॉट लेट यू रन इंडिया in 2016 by the rules written in 1992. We will not. We will not let you repeat 1992, 1984, 2002 again in this country. It is just not acceptable. जिसको जो ट्वीट करना है, फेसबुक में क्या लिखना है, व्हाट्सएप में क्या लिखना है, हमारी मर्जी है. कौन होता है हमें बताने वाला हम क्या लिखेंगे क्या नहीं लिखेंगे? तो मुझे लगता है ये हिंदुस्तान है, 2016 का हिंदुस्तान है. हम रिस्पॉन्सिबल हैं, यस वी नो. और अगर किसी को हमारे अगेंस्ट बोलना, ही इज ऑल्सो फ्री टू राइट. इसमें ये बैन करना, आग लगाना, प्रदर्शन करना, पाकिस्तान चले जाओ, जंगल चले जाओ, मेरे को लगता है ये राजनीति अब बंद होनी चाहिए. यहाँ जितने लोग खड़े हैं हम सबको पता है हमारा ओपिनियन क्या है और कैसे उसे शेयर करना है. दैट्स इट. थैंक यू.
पवन.
देखिए, जो अनुपम भाई ने कहा, उन्होंने कहा डूअर बनिए.
Guys, this is not this.
Can we please stick to the fundamentals of this debate? Thank you very much. Go ahead.
डूअर बनने में और जिम्मेदारी समझने में कोई अंतर क्या है? You can be a winner, you can be a doer, but you cannot be a winner and a doer in a society where there are no rules. I am against unnecessary, unwarranted interference of the state in my individual life. I want the freedom. But are we talking without any sense of balance today? Are we saying that in any organized state where there is the rule of law and where there is a constitution, any freedom given to you by your right as a citizen of a democracy has no limitations? You can do anything you want. There cannot be a civilized society like that. Therefore, I am saying this politics is wrong. Sadhvi Nilanjana Jyoti, what she said, goes against the argument that there should be absolute freedom of speech. There should not. There cannot be. If there is a fatwa issued, then I say that also needs to be curbed because there is no absolute freedom of speech. We need the right balance as a mature democracy. Without curbing unnecessarily the rights of citizens, we need a balance. There is too much extremism in our society in terms of trying to curb what should be an individual's right of expression. Too many definitions. And I say to you, those definitions are not important. Your rights as a citizen of a country where there is a rule of law, that is important. कल को आपके साथ कोई छेड़छाड़ी कर दे, आपको खुली सड़क पर गाली बक दे और आप कहेंगे कि मैं आपसे क्या कहूं, आपकी तो राइट टू फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच है. Reduce the argument to an individual level. तब आपको समझ में आएगा कि ये हमारी राइट्स हैं, हम डेमोक्रेसी हैं, हमारी राइट्स पे कर्ब नहीं लगना चाहिए जो वाजिब नहीं है, पर जो वाजिब है उनको एक्सेप्ट करना भी एक डेमोक्रेसी का गुण होता है.
Thank you. Salil.
It's nice to be told about other countries here in India. It's nice to be told that India has greater freedom than anywhere else. Please go to Dharwad and tell that to Dr. Kalburgi's family. Please go to Pune and tell that to Mr. Pansare's family. Please go to and tell those two young girls who clicked like on Facebook and then were taken away to jail. These are the people who live in India. And their freedoms have been restricted by different governments, by different mobs. They are the ones who are setting the rules. And you know, mobs always try to bring it down to a level that is so low and so common that after that there's no conversation possible. You know, there was the emergency, and in the emergency I had a friend called Behram Contractor, Busy Bee. And he used to write that the amount of restrictions being placed are so many that we'll be able to talk about only two topics in future, cricket and mangoes. And it's pretty much that we are going into by giving people who feel that they have right for their feelings to be heard by something that they do not understand, by something that they do not read, by something that they do not care about, and for which they expect impunity and immunity for prosecution because of the vandalism that they prosecute. Why are we telling writers to shut up? And why aren't we arresting the people who throw the inks, throw the stones, and kill the writers? These are the arguments that we are completely forgetting when we talk about this. You know, there was a time, we are talking about Adityanath, and some of you assume that I believe Adityanath should be banned, or Ritambara, or Niranjan Jyoti. No, they should not be. I want them to be there and say what they do so that I know how foolish our politicians are. They should be able to say these things so that we know where they come from. Yes, Donald Trump says what he wants, but उसमें हमारा क्या है यार? वो तो अमेरिका में बोल रहा है. Here we have to deal with the Thackeray's and the imams and all of them, and they are dictating what we should speak, where and how. Don't give that a chance. I was slim once, Suhel made sense once, and Anupam used to be an actor, but is a very bad music conductor. Thank you.
Suhel.
The tragedy is that Salil Tripathi still believes he's in a school debate somewhere outside Westminster in London. For a man to tell us, don't talk about other countries, living in England is a bit rich. I'll come straight to the point. Number one, we have maintained consistently and constantly that freedom comes with a sense of responsibility. It is in the context of responsibility that we mention that there can't be absolute freedom. It is not in the context of taking away your rights. Kapil Mishra of Aam Aadmi Party went into a big debate about Modi, Kejriwal. We're not discussing individuals, we're discussing a nation. For God's sake, India is bigger than Modi and Kejriwal. And what I found amusing for Kapil to tell us is, he is a young politician. हम नहीं होने देंगे, हम नहीं होने, ये आपके बाप की सरकार थोड़ी है. Since everyone is talking about fathers, I was thinking how to bring father. The country doesn't belong to Aam Aadmi, it doesn't belong to Modi, it doesn't belong to any of us. It belongs to each one of us with equal measure. We will be responsible. I'm not here to say this is wrong, that is wrong. If the Sadhvis have said something, if the Ovaisis have said something, they have gone against who we intrinsically are as Indians. We cannot allow another set of people to abuse communities, create conflagrations, create crimes, create a situation where there is violence rather than affection. The Supreme Court and the Constitution, Madhu, not you and I or not politicians, have guaranteed this freedom with reasonable restraint. It is the Supreme Court of India. It is India's constitution. Respect that. Vote sensibly. This is not Delhi. This is Jaipur.
I think that was the most magnificent debate ever. Before I ask you all to vote on the motion, sorry, Madhu, go ahead.
Okay. There are many things you're saying that
Madhu, put your mic down.
It's not the politicians, it is the Supreme Court. Section 66A, for which many people went to jail, was done by politicians. News Laundry, MediaNama.com, and Shreya Singhal fought single-handedly and reversed that. So that was done by politicians. And politicians, I'm sorry, barring these two politicians, I would say most of them are in it to gain power. To gain power. उनको के अपने आप को गुरु कैसे बना दिए तो अपने आप को ज्ञान की महिलाएं don't take my time, I'm going to take extra time for this. हमको सिखा रहे हैं, गुरु बनके हमें ज्ञान दे रहे हैं कि हम क्या देख सकते हैं क्या नहीं देख सकते हैं. You say we are free, but you decide. Like what is called euphemistically the censor board is actually the central board for certification. They're only supposed to certify the films, not cut, chop, snip. They chopped James Bond's latest film, the duration of a kiss by 50%. Why? Why should they decide that? And who did it? It had to be an Indian man, because it's against, naturally it's against the Indian culture. More than 50 seconds in foreplay, not a chance. And giving women ideas, dangerous. Raising women's expectations, dangerous. You see, if you're seeing Woody Allen's film, you will see Annie Hall. If you've seen Woody Allen's film Annie Hall, on Indian television, the censor board has decided to blur all cigarettes. So she's walking around the room doing this. No cigarette. She could be blowing smoke. She could be blowing kisses. It's just a blur. But then, I forgot, sorry, I'm mistaken. What she actually does is this. They don't know what she's smoking, thank God. There's a movie, Don't Mess with Zohan, in which they blank out the word terrorist. So if there are 3 words of terrorist in a sentence, you have to guess because there are no nouns in the sentence. We are not children. You had no business to cut out a Babri Masjid coverage. It was banned by the censor board. I took it to Justice Lenton and appealed. Great man. He said not only should this be allowed, it should be required viewing for every citizen in India. When I interviewed Mayawati for the first time when she became a politician, she said, "मैं गर्व से कहती हूँ, मैं चमार की बेटी हूँ." My program at that time was on Doordarshan. They said, you cannot use the word you cannot use the word chamar. She was taking ownership of her She was taking ownership of her identity. Mayawati was taking ownership of her identity of being a chamar.
Thank you very much. Before I put the proposition to vote, I just wanted to clarify what Anupam said about what did you all do about Salman Rushdie. Salman Rushdie was not banned from coming from India. The Indian government gave him a visa. Not that he needed a visa, he was going to come. There was a threat perception to his life. We had a whole slew of meetings with community leaders from the other community. He finally decided to cancel because he wasn't convinced that there would be security. So therefore what we did is, rather than have him here, we did a live telecast, which of course Barkha claimed was her own or NDTV's own, but it was arranged by the festival to ensure that irrespective, his voice was heard across the country, as so many different voices can be heard here across platforms and across viewpoints. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to poll. So for those of you who would like to vote for the proposition, should freedom of speech be absolute and unconditional, raise your hands. Those of you who feel that freedom of speech should not be absolute and unconditional, raise your hands. The nays shall have it. The nays shall have it. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much, the panelists.